Welcome to the Immigrant Finance Podcast, a show dedicated to everything money, online business, and immigration, because immigrant families deserve to build generational wealth too. I'm your host, Adina, social entrepreneur, an immigration attorney, and financial educator and coach for immigrant families. I created the Immigrant Finance platform with my husband Mauricio, who immigrated to the US 8 years ago after we struggled through the whole process of trying to figure out finances as an immigrant family alone. We wanted to share what we learned about building wealth with others along the way and created the Immigrant Finance School Group Coaching Program, where we teach immigrants and their families like you how to manage their money, get started investing, and build online businesses in just weeks, all with group accountability and support. Our clients have been able to get started investing and develop lifelong plans to build generational wealth regardless of their immigration status, actually launched an online business they've been dreaming of starting for years, bring in enough income to leave a job with a shitty boss, and book up their calendar for the rest of the month just after announcing their new coaching business. I'm coming to you with a new show several times a week with stories about online business lessons, money and mindset insights, and guest interviews to help you become financially empowered. Each episode will switch between personal finance and online business topics. Now let's get to this week's episode. Greetings, everyone. This is Adina from Immigrant Finance, and I am here today with a special guest, Fabi of Fab and Fit Foods, based in the Houston, Texas area. Fabi is here to speak with us more about her experience starting her business and her family's experience and all of that. So welcome, Fabi. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you so much again for having me. I'm so excited and nervous at the same time. So, but I'm really, really happy to be here and be part of the podcast.
Thank you so much for taking the time, and don't be nervous. Seriously, you're amazing what you've been doing, and can't wait for people to learn about your experience. So I'll share just a little bit more about you and then turn over to you to share more. So Fabi was born in Nuevo Leon, Mexico. She came to the United States at the age of 3. She is the oldest of 5 girls. She's a mother, she's a wife, and she's the founder of Fab and Fit Foods. She is now currently on a mission to educate herself and her family about finances and different types of investing. So yeah, I'll turn it over to you. Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, there's so much in between. I'm a foodie. I love food. I'm passionate about just politics and just like justice and everything that is, just fair and being a good human being and helping others out. I started Fab and Fit Foods to help, the community and others that were struggling with similar things that I was struggling with. So, that's just kind of a little bit about me.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about that journey. But before we get into the story of starting your business, tell us a little bit about your connection to immigration.
So I was born, as you stated, I was born in Nuevo Leon, Mexico. I came here at the age of 3. My dad was actually here in the United States before we actually migrated here to the United States. He was working on a visa. He worked in the oil gas field over there in Mexico. He graduated with agricultural engineering degree. So he did get a good job, traveled over here, left his family behind for a few years, and finally was like, I can't do this anymore. I need my family together. So we came over here to the United States, and that's kind of really, when you're that small, you don't really remember what your parents went through, what was actually, what it all took to get us all over here and their struggles. But from the stories they've told us, it's little by little. And as I grew, I got to kind of experience some of those struggles along with them. So I mean, just that fear, I remember starting school here and all I had really known was Spanish. It was just like Spanish speaking in my household. My mom really didn't speak English. My dad was like he was working at a restaurant as a busboy, and really didn't have that ability to learn English very well. So I just started school and they put me into an English speaking class, and I was just like so just scared and nervous. And one of the first conversations that my parents really had to have with me as a young child, like that young, was, hey, just do what you have to do at school, be good. We don't want to get into any trouble. Let's not get into any trouble. So we were here for, oh man, it was a good 14, 15 years, just kind of illegally. And just my dad, had his job. He was always very, instilled the right morals in us, just to do good in school, always listen to your teachers, don't get into any trouble. Let's just do what we came here to do, and that was work hard and create a better future. But it was always that fear in the back of my mind. Am I going to come home to my parents? Is the immigration going to come to school? Like, these were thoughts that were going on in my mind as a young child. Yeah. So it was always this fear that was instilled. So I always kept really quiet. I always kept to myself. It was really hard for me to make friends, just because I didn't want to ruin anything for my parents, and just risk us losing everything that we had came here and worked for. So, and that was like early on. And then we had my mom's brother passed away in Mexico, and we needed to go visit him. And we risked, going back to visit him, and on our way back, I mean, it was just one of those things. I was older. I was probably like eight years old. And, I was already established in school here. We lived in some apartments, and, as a child, I'm kind of innocent. I didn't really understand what was going on. We were crossing the border, and they separate me from my mom. They take me into this room, and they start questioning me away from my mom. I didn't know what was going on. So they started questioning me in English. And of course, by this time, I know, like, full blown, I'm like perfect English speaker. And they start asking me, where do you live? What school do you go to? I'm answering everything in English, telling them. So they basically, got it out of us that we were living in the United States illegally. And then that's all I remember. I remember them taking me back to a room where my mom was, just crying and obviously scared, didn't know where I was, didn't know where they had taken me. So that was that was traumatizing for me. I didn't know what had happened at that very moment until my mom explained to me afterwards. So they sent us back. We got deported. And my dad did everything in his power to get us back. And we came back to the United States, and we were here for another few. It wasn't until I was about to start high school when we got the call from our lawyers that the documentation that my dad had submitted 8 years prior, to start the whole process of getting our documentation done and all that, had actually gotten approved, and they were going to start on our case. So it took, I think it was during the Bush administration. I think it was like a amnesty that was passed, that your employer can vouch for, like, what is it called? Like when they sponsor you, as long as they had good, they had proof that you had been working for them, and your good character and all this. So my dad had an angel of a boss at that time, and he just was fully supportive of us and our family. It was an American, a white guy, and he was just an angel. I remember him always treated us amazing, always treated my dad with respect. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have been able to do this. Like, to, we wouldn't be here, honestly. Like, he vouched for my dad and submitted all the documentation that they asked for. It took about 8 years after that, to get the whole thing processed. But I had no idea. I had no plans of going to college, because I thought that without being legal here in the United States, what future like that was I going to have? Like, was I going to be able to go to college? Was I going to be able to just be out there, get a good job? Were they going to ask me for documents? So everything was so uncertain until that phone call that we received. Once we received that phone call, was like, it changed our lives. And after that, they started on our case. I was already in 10th grade, I want to say. I was in high school, and everything changed for me. I started being able to think about my future, being able to add college into my plans, and, getting a good job. And so it's been a hell of a ride. It's been crazy. And I'm sure there's still so much that I don't even know. I know what I went through, what I remember, but my parents, I think in the Hispanic culture, we try and, us as parents, we try kind of to like hide certain struggles from our children, or we don't want to really speak about, the hardships. But I can't even imagine how it was with my dad. I mean, when we came here to the United States, it was just me. They just brought me. But then 5 years later, they had my sister. And then 2 years later, they had another child. Then, I mean, it's 5 of us. So it's like my dad was the only provider, the sole provider of the family. And I cannot even imagine the stress that was on his mind day in and day out, trying to provide for his family, working really hard, but then yet the fear of possibly being deported, caught, in while he's trying to, make money to feed his family. It's just, I know that they went through a lot. So, and that's just kind of like the beginning. After that, it opened up a whole new like side of things. I did go to college. I was kind of, in and out. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. I went in for registered nursing. Wasn't really my thing. I started getting into taking the credits for like child psychology, until finally, like, I just took a break, and then I got a really good job. Well, what I thought at the time was a really good job, as a dental assistant, and worked there for, that just kind of went on. I got my license, my dental assistant license, worked as a dental assistant for about 11 years after that. And then finally just got tired of it and came to the realization, like, this is not what my parents worked so hard for me to do. Like it was like I wasn't satisfied. I needed to do more. I wanted to do more. I always was a big thinker. I've always really thought about like ideas and I guess like that entrepreneur mindset. Yeah. Like I wanted my own business. But it wasn't until I think I was working in a let me see, I don't want to reveal too much, but I was working in a place where it wasn't they didn't appreciate you. It was kind of like you were replaceable, and if they fired you, they would just hire somebody else. And I just saw that in and day out, just kind of people being replaced all the time. And I wasn't happy with that. And I was on a weight loss journey. I started trying to lose weight myself, started meal prepping, and I love food at the same time, so it was one of those things. I love cooking. I love food. And I was also doing something that was helping me lose weight. So that's kind of how the there's a lot in between all of that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going towards more like the business side, but I do want to uh kind of pause and, you know, just say just all the struggles my family has gone through, and just it inspired me to be the person that I am this day, to, you know, today.
Yeah. I can tell.
So that's, yeah, I've just
That's
learned so much from them.
incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that's very personal, and I know there's a lot of people listening who have had similar experiences and will relate. So thank you for
Yeah,
sharing it and, you know, normalizing. I think it's so important that we tell these immigration stories because they're often not talked about, and
exactly.
particularly
Yeah.
when deportations are involved. You know, so first of all, I'm just so sorry your family had to go through that, and I can only imagine how traumatizing that was for you as a child and
Yeah.
having to worry about your parents. Wow. So how long were you all back in Mexico for?
I want to say it was just about like 2 weeks that we were
Okay.
there. Yeah, and in that
Okay.
time, my mom was like, didn't know what was going to happen, so she kind of tried to put me back in, you know, put me in school over there in Mexico, and it was like a total. I just, it was a culture shock, you know, like I had
I'm
been
sure.
over here already, and then I learned English, and then kind of sending me back, and then having to uh they have the thought about, oh man, now I'm gonna have to learn Spanish fully, like at 100%. So just kind of rearrange. We didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, and
What a
it's
whirlwind.
yeah, and a lot of this entire story was kind of like you were saying. We don't talk about it, and we, as uh, immigrants, we feel like that's, oh no, that's a no. Don't talk about it. Don't, that never happened. But it's, I've been trying to do like a lot more self healing, I guess. That was one of my New Year's resolutions, on top of like getting financially educated, you know, with finances and stuff. A big thing was like work on my past traumas, and just healing as a person, and along with, you know, now that I'm a mom and a wife, I feel like it's crucial to kind of
Yeah.
tap into your past, and why, you know, your traumas and everything you went through, so that way you can heal and then not pass those same things on to your children, you know. So
Absolutely.
I had to dig deep. I had to dig deep, and just recall everything and accept it, and just be proud. I would say I'm proud of everything that I've gone through, as scary as it is, for as scary as it was for my mom, for my dad. I'm just, everything happens for a reason, and I feel like
Yeah.
we wouldn't be the family that we are. We wouldn't be that tight knit family that we are now, if it wasn't for all of that.
That's so beautiful. I
Yeah.
love hearing your perspective, and it was really interesting to me when you were telling your immigration story, how like the end of it came to your business, and I can tell all the strength you have from these experiences that are
Yeah.
like playing out to what you're doing now and helping people and being a model for your children and all of that. And totally agree how important it is to work on the healing and not pass down stuff. I relate to that a lot right now. I've been trying to work through some stuff to make sure I don't pass it down to my daughter.
Yes.
So it's hard work, and
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
really inspiring. So thank
Yeah,
you for sharing.
yeah, it's hard work.
It's
But
so
I think
hard.
once you're able to kind of acknowledge those things, and it just becomes kind of like part of your daily, or even like a weekly ritual type thing. Like, okay, you tap back into that. I don't want to instill, or you catch yourself saying certain things that you might have heard when you were a child. And
Yeah.
we got back from a trip from Disney World, and you know, you can, I mean, you know how expensive that could be with like young
Hmm.
children, and just, I want this and I want that, and da-da. I remember taking those trips with my parents, you know, just even somewhere locally, and something I always heard my dad say was like, oh, no tenemos dinero. No, no tenemos dinero. Like it was always, no, we don't have
Yeah.
money. We don't have money. And I feel like I understand they were just telling me the truth, like basically. But as a child, I think then I grew up kind of like not asking them for many things. Like when it came to college, I was always kind of like, oh, should I ask him? Like, can they help me pay for my college? Or it was like you kind of get that thought instilled since a young age. I try not to do that with my children. I do explain to them if it's a certain situation where I can't buy it. I'll try and explain it to them the best way that I can, but I try to not use financial reasons to be like an excuse. You like just I don't even know how to explain it, but I feel like that instilled a fear in finances for me. Like just hearing my parents, oh, we don't have money, we don't have money, we don't have money. It was always like, no, 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 we don't have
Yeah.
money. So that created a really negative relationship.
No, so it sounds like a lot of that is like the scarcity mindset stuff that
Yeah.
comes up that is really, really common in immigrant communities. It's really common also in the culture my family comes from, which is like Jewish immigrant refugees. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
everyone is like waiting for the next Holocaust and like we have to prepare.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Never have enough. We always have to worry about money. So it's really crazy how deep that stuff runs. And I'm also like really becoming more aware of how much that plays out subconsciously, even more than I realize. And that's something that a lot of the people that we work with in this community are struggling with. So that's really helpful to hear. So what has that journey been like for you?
Well, as far as like the just trying to understand finances and not be scared. I think it's more of a fear. So I always struggled with like algebra, like anything that had to do with numbers and maybe that's a whole nother issue that I have to deal with, kind of realize why I have like this fear of numbers. And it's getting better. Obviously now that I have a business, it's part of the business. You have to
Yeah.
look at numbers, but it still gives me my heart starts racing a little bit. I get a little nervous when it comes time to do like bookkeeping and all that stuff. So I didn't realize up and just until recently, just finances has been part of, I think since starting the business, that's when it kind of opened my eyes to, wow, I have, I don't know if it's like a fear or just some sort of like anxiety when it comes to finances. And so I tried to understand why, thought about just how my entire household was always ran, and just do some changes. I do feel like we can't just say yes to everything that our children want. We can't always just give them everything that they want because that's just not how just life works. You don't get everything that you want. So, but I do not, I also told my husband, I grew up hearing arguments over money a lot. Like that was huge in my household. My parents always argued about finances, and as a child, you just, I don't know, it sticks. Those arguments stick in the back of my mind. So I always knew that I did not want to ever have an argument in front of my kids because of finances. If they did hear us talking about it, I would want it to be like a conversation that we're having, because I do think it's healthy for a family to be able to sit down and budget, and just, I think everybody should be involved. The children should also, at some point when they can understand, they should be involved in the family budgeting as well, instead of that kind of makes it like a family thing, like a positive thing. Instead of hearing fights over finances, let's
Oh my
just
gosh.
try and like normalize it and make them part of the learning process. So just little things like that. I don't have it all down just yet. My daughters are, one of them is 5, the other one is 2. So
Oh,
they're still kind of very young. But I have plans, for them, just that will hopefully set them up for just a better financial situation, and just have for them to have a good relationship with money. That's like probably one of my biggest goals as a mom is going to be that, is like, I want to set those girls up to be good and to be uh, financially fluent, like financially savvy, like I want them to just know what a Roth IRA is. I want them to know what stocks are. I want them to know at an early age, not wait until college or like as an adult, kind of like how us, our generation of like immigrants, or my dad, obviously, I think we've had the conversation where like he didn't learn about stocks until just a few years ago. And he's been the one to kind of try and tell us about like, hey, y'all should invest. And a few years ago, we didn't really listen to him. Like we were just like, what is that? We need a lot of money to do that. We need thousands of dollars to be able to invest in stocks. And it's not like that. And I think that's the misconception, and then the lack of just financial, just the lack of education that we were given about finances, that we missed out on learning a lot about all of that. So he's now taught us a few things, and then I am still learning about all that. I've signed up for like separate courses on investing and stuff, and I just also purchased like a real estate licensing course, because I do want to. That's like a huge thing that I want to learn about. Not so much like, oh, I want to be a real estate agent, but I think it's very important for us to learn about real estate and that type of investing as well, because it's a huge market, and just anything you can do to just learn about investing and just finances, I'm all for it. Like I said, that was part of my New Year's resolution barely this year. 2021 is like, I want to learn everything that I can, because there's so much information out there, and we live in a time where everything is available to us. And if we don't
That's right.
take it, if we don't put ourselves in the positions to learn and absorb all this information that we are basically being given, it's just, we don't really want to learn then. It's kind of like a choice. I feel like no, I'm not gonna. But if you really want to, the information is there, and we just need to absorb all of that. But yeah, that's
You're doing such amazing work. Imagine if every child learned about budgeting with their family, like at the kitchen table,
yep.
instead of hearing fights about money. I mean, we would live in a completely different world. Money's the number one cause of divorce, stress, anxiety, and so many people. This stuff's not taught in school, and so that's really incredible. You're already thinking about that with just having it be your New Year's resolution recently. So it's really exciting. I think that will inspire a lot of people. I'd love to hear a little bit more about, since you are a business owner, what it's been like, that experience and getting off the ground and growing your business, for people who are thinking about doing that.
Oh, man, it's been a long journey. I mean, we started the business in 2017. And I will say, to this day, I don't have it all down. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I don't know if I should be saying that, but I don't know 100% what I'm doing. But I've heard from other business owners is like, that's totally normal. It's okay. We're not all going to know everything right off the bat. It's just a matter of just asking, just ask. So that's all really that it's been trial and error. When I decided that I wanted to just do this complete entrepreneur life and just start my own business, I had a very stable job. I had a job where I had my 401k. I had amazing health insurance. Everybody, when I mentioned like, I think I want to quit and just commit myself to this 100% and see where it goes. They're like, you're crazy. Like that's kind of the response I got from about 90% of the people. The only person that kind of backed me up and I'm so thankful for, and he's been my, my fuel to my fire, has been my husband. And he was like, I think we should wait. I was like, no, I want to quit like right now, today. And he's like, no, you have to wait. Like a business, usually you kind of have to see, like, do it for 6 months and see if it's going to be profitable and see. And something inside my heart was just like, I know this is going to work and it's going to be amazing. So I secretly, I mean, he knows now, but I secretly emailed my boss and just kind of put in my resignation. Literally, after I had talked to him, and my boss wasn't too happy. She depended on me for a lot of things. I've always had very good, I feel like, and what I've been told is like my work ethic has always been very good. I you need me for something, I will do it. I will, if I don't know how to do it, I'll Google it. I'll learn how. I was just very self-motivated, and so I was good for what she needed me to do, but I was not fulfilled. I wasn't happy, so I started just actually I had been going through like a spiritual journey at that time, and just kind of trying to connect with myself and what it was that made me truly happy. And it wasn't where I was at in that point in time. So when I took the leap, I, didn't tell my husband for like a few weeks that I had put in the resignation. But what I did tell my boss was, I will stay here until you fully hire somebody, and I will even train them. Like, I was giving her whatever time she needed, if that was a month, 2 months. I put in my resignation, what was it, August, I want to say. And I was there until November of 2017. So that was a good 3 months. And in those 3 months, we did hire somebody new. The process for hiring for that company that I was with was very lengthy. It was a government job. So like, they go through all these processes of hiring and screening, and it takes weeks, months. And eventually, once I was able to train her and she knew what she was doing, I left, and I was ready to, because by this point I could only think about my business. Like, I was at my job and I was just thinking about my meal prep business, and I was having to deal with customers on the job, like trying to respond to messages and trying to respond to phone calls, and still working at my full-time job. So once I realized, it had only been 3 months since I put in my resignation, but the business was already going so well. It was a good feeling. It was a very good feeling. I'm sorry.
You just knew, you had that intuition.
Yeah. Yes, it was like a feeling. Yeah. So then we got hit in around hurricane season here in 2017 with Harvey, and here in Houston. And that meal prep, I was scared. We were flooded for days. We couldn't drive. We couldn't distribute any food. So it was kind of like that trial that it was like, okay, if we don't make it past this, then do we really have a good business? Is it a concept, I guess? And and it just like took off after that. Like, it even grew much more. So just with those little things that were put in our, like, as obstacles that we thought were obstacles, and then we would overcome them, and it would just be even that more great than we expected, like a little bit after. It was just a huge, like, this is what you need to be doing. Then my husband got laid off that year in around Thanksgiving time. And he was also working for, the same company that I was working for, but he got laid off, and that's kind of what we needed, because since then he's been like, he pushes the business to another level. So I'm the founder, right? But if without him, I mean, he's the co-founder as well. So without him, we wouldn't be also where we are at now. It's just he's a lot more. He goes to the events. He's a very amazing public speaker. He just connects with people on another level, and he's just so relatable. So he does all the talking. I'm like, I'll do the cooking. I do the cooking. You do the presentations, and he goes out to the gyms and sets up deals, and he's just a people person. And my happy place is being, you know, behind a like a big pot of like whatever it is that I'm cooking, and I'm just so happy. My mind is relaxed. That's my happy place. And him, he just enjoys dealing with people and um sharing the information. And he's been a huge drive behind the business since we started. So I give my hats off to him, and he's been amazing at everything.
What a
And
great way to play off each other's strengths. I'm sitting here smiling
oh
because
man,
it's so similar
yes.
to my husband and I with immigrant finance, like, but reverse. So I'm more the public facing, and then my husband's like really shy introvert, and he does all the like back end systems and stuff. He's like, just give me a computer.
Yep, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's like translating our course into Spanish and stuff, and I'm like blah 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 blah. But you need to have that balance. So that's really really cool. Wow, I honestly could talk to you for like 5 hours. I have so many questions about this and how you all got off the ground. So just what would you say to people who kind of have that intuition that there's something they're meant to create, but they're like scared to leave their job?
um so it I don't want to give the wrong like information, or like the wrong advice, but just if you have that gut feeling, if you know in your heart that this is something that, your business, something you're passionate about, it makes you happy while you're doing it, and it's and you're, you're profiting from it, you're being able to pay your lifestyle and the way I mean, go for it. I feel like, or if even keep it like as start off as a side. This was what we did, is like it was kind of a side job. We were only doing it on weekends. So just with doing it on weekends, we were able to see how much profit. I was making more money, doing just a side job than working my Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, every day of the week, basically. So if you have that feeling and it's going to be something great, and it's your passion, I would say just go for it. But I don't want to give anybody the wrong advice, but when you have that feeling in your heart, it's usually it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yeah. It's really amazing that you trusted yourself and took that leap of faith. And I'm just imagining you like sending that email to your boss and what it must have felt like, after the months went by and you could finally leave after training the new person. How did that feel when it was like your last day?
It was unreal, and it was kind of sad because you grow close. I grew close to my coworkers, and I saw a lot of them like family, and the way that they did like a little goodbye lunch, and they brought me gifts, and it was right around my birthday too. It was like my birthday's on November 21st, and my last day was like the 17th. So they, it was very emotional, and I second guessed myself those days prior to me leaving, and probably a week or two after I left. So those second thoughts were in my mind. I probably sat down a few times. It was like, did I make a mistake? Did I make a mistake? I probably should go back. Like, and I would tell my husband, like, and he's like, no, you like, let's just go full force. Like, don't have be confident in yourself. And that's another thing. My confidence it hasn't been the best. I think because I was going through this spiritual journey and trying to find myself and the healing and all that during that time back in 2017, actually kind of helped me and opened my heart to allow these blessings to come through and to be accepting of these blessings. Because growing up in, an immigrant household, just everything is like fear, fear, fear.
Yeah.
Don't go out and be an entrepreneur. Don't go out and be all in the public's eye. So just trying to get away from that and live out the American dream, quote unquote, what they have always said we come here to the United States to do is live the American dream. And I want to live my dream. And that was my dream. But I mean, yeah, it was a very good feeling once that email was sent, but there was also a lot of second guesses. And that's totally normal. That's totally normal.
Well, I can only imagine how much you had to work through mindset wise and like all the conditioning, just in terms of like, what is security? What is safety? When
yes,
everything, you described with your immigrant story, having that background, this was a really big move for you to make.
Definitely. And just also trusting, we have to create a team right now that I have a business and we have thoughts of like expanding and stuff. It's the business is my baby. So I'm really protective about it. It's been me and my husband this entire time. So having like, getting a lawyer and getting a CPA and just having people basically like I expose my finances to other people. It's such like when I sat down with my accountant, it was at the new year, right before the new year, and I was like needing help. So I have to realize that I need help, and that's always been a huge thing. I don't accept help. I always want to do everything by myself, but it was causing me so much stress to just deal with everything by myself, all the finances, everything that related to the business. It was just me and my husband handling it, and it becomes a lot, so I had to come to the realization that I needed to ask for help. When I sat down with her, I was like, look, if this is me, literally, I feel like I'm standing in front of you naked. Like I had my, finances right there for her. That's the level of like nervousness and anxiety that it gives me to just deal with finances, and now having somebody else, in my finances. So, but it's been amazing. It's been so good. She's so good. I think when you allow yourself to create your team for your business, it's a game changer, and you want people that you can trust. You want to be educated yourself, like educate yourself on finances so that you can be up to date with, everything that's going on and keep an eye on everything that's going on financially with your business. Cause that's, you don't want to get screwed over. You don't want to get, just fall into a situation that we've heard many times, before with other businesses, going through, but creating that team, asking for help is so, so important. And it's something that I think it's really important that, right off the bat, starting a business, you're going to need help. You don't know everything, and just find yourself a good team.
We're going through the exact same thing right now. Like we started bringing on recently some people in different roles to help out, like with what you're describing. And it is so hard with the trust stuff. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I had to realize like you cannot do it all by yourself. And if you want any chance of helping a lot of people and making a big impact, like you're going to need other people to support you.
Yeah.
So just kind of the earlier you can realize that, I think the better. And also, so like you're not working all the time.
Yes. Right? Yes. That's what you do it for, right? Like you want to create a business so that you can have that freedom to be, more available for your kids. You can travel, you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. And if you are an employee for your own business for so long, it's like when you're going to get burnt out the same way being an employee for anybody else will burn you out after a certain point. So I've had to kind of go through that right now is I'm an employee still, cause I still cook majority of the meals. But we want to expand. So that requires me assigning, other my role to somebody else, or multiple people, so that way we can expand and just create more. But um yeah, it's definitely like a shield that you have to put down, and it's hard, it's so difficult, because again, it's your baby, you're overprotective, and nobody's going to care about your business the way that you care about it, and you've worked so hard for it. You don't want anybody to come in and ruin the name, or give it a bad rep. So it's difficult, but you will not grow, and you will not reach your financial goals if you don't kind of expand your team. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't know everything, and I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm a big avid like Googler, and I like seminars, and I'm always just open to learning, because it's all trial and error. We I didn't know anything about sales taxes and federal taxes and this and that. Like, just there's so much that goes into a business. I had zero idea. Like, before, everything that a business owner has to keep up with, and there's licenses, and there's laws change all the time, and so you have to keep up with all of that, and
Yeah.
and just keep going, though, just keep going. There's been many times that I like it becomes so much for me, like very overwhelming, but because I have a good support system, my husband is just always like, let's go, let's keep going, let's keep going. So that's really important too, is just it's having the team, right? Like
Yeah.
having a good support system. And my family is so supportive as well. They've seen the success. And my dad was always like, no, you shouldn't be a business owner. It's too much stress, and you're going to be stressed out all the time. And again, I think it's that like old school, like mentality. He wanted to come here and have a secure job, have his 401k, have his insurance, and just kind of be secured.
Yeah.
But I always was like, nah, I want more. I want more.
Oh, I love
And
it.
now they're fully supportive at this point, and they see that it's doable. And my little sister actually has a business. A lot of my sisters do. I have a makeup artist sister, and then the other one does like cheese boxes. So their little businesses have been booming as well. So I'm so proud. She's like
Entrepreneurial.
17 years old, and the other one's like 18. So they are they're doing really good, and I'm so proud, like, just to see them, and they come to me and they'll ask me stuff, and I try and give them ideas as well, just to kind of support each other, because that's kind of how the new generation of our family could possibly be, just like business owners, if we support each other, and just kind of help them grow, help anything I know, I try and pass it on to them. If that's like finances, stocks, just anything. We have like a group chat, and we're always, writing back and forth about stuff like that. So yeah, it's really cool to
I'm
to
just
have that
amazed.
little
It,
support system.
I'm just amazed at like hearing how empowered you are. It's like this is the best type of business owner to be, and someone learning about finances is just like not being afraid to say I don't know, and to go ask questions and look it up, because like you said, there's always going to be new stuff. So it's harder when you try to think I've got this, I know everything, and you're actually
Yeah.
have no idea what you're
Yeah.
doing, but you really have that beginner's mindset, which I'm guessing has a lot to do with how successful you've been, and willing to figure stuff out. And that's how business is for people listening. I don't get overwhelmed by knowing there's all these things you always have to learn. Like
Hmm.
you can do it step by step and figure out like, um, I don't know about you. I don't have a business school degree, you know,
Mm-mm.
you don't need that. Like you can just ask good questions and keep learning. I want to ask you one question that I'm thinking about with, in terms of you just like really taking it to the next level of being willing to really change the trajectory of your family tree, and start this entrepreneurial path, and then not only do that but like start learning the lesson that you can have a team and not have to do all the work alone yourself. Like, How has that transformation been? Because you mentioned earlier, like growing up, being taught everything from in school, like be good in school, like don't get in trouble. And then like you were such a good worker in your job, always had such a good work ethic. So that must have been a huge shift for you to kind of step into that.
Yes, so it's all been so new, and we're speaking recent. Like this is so we just recently opened up our storefront. Like the business
Congrats.
grew before we thank you. It's a whole new world. Before we were renting like private commercial kitchens and cooking out of there, and then we would deliver, but now we actually have like a physical store where people can go in and pick up their food. So that requires more, like a staff, and that requires me to let go of just, it was always me, like me and my husband and I, this is our, like, we have to do this, we have to do that. But it's been very difficult, but I think because the I go back to, I hope I'm not sounding like redundant, but going back to like self healing and just doing that inner work. I'm huge on that because it's mental. Everything is mental. We get programmed, from an early age due to our uh status, in our cultures, we get programmed to think a certain way. So to unprogram that, it's going to take years, but it has to start somewhere. And as long as it starts, it's going to happen. You're going to be able to, kind of redirect what you've always been taught, what you've always been told, as long as you fully heartedly believe in yourself, and you are confident in yourself and in what your work ethic is. I think anything you put your mind to, if you have that work ethic, if you've always been this hard worker, you're not going to fail. You're not going to allow yourself to fail. And it's just, but you have to do that mind work, that mental work. And it's not going to be perfect every time. There's going to be times where it's like mentally overwhelming and straining, and you're just going to want to lay in bed and just be like, no, I just don't want to do this no more. But it's getting back up a few hours later and just going full force right again. And it's mental, just having and 2020 just happened, like that was a huge mental strain on so many people, just emotionally. I think I had the awakening during that time to just how important mental health really is and how it impacts just who we want to be in life. If our mental health isn't strong, we're not gonna make it. And there's in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into all the stuff that mental health brings, but pretty much you just have to be mentally strong to go after what you want in life. And so I think doing that healing, that mental work, is key. It's so, and we've gone through so much, as a culture, as like just immigrants, we've gone through so much. I think it's
So
only right that we incorporate that healing and try and make it, normalize it, normalize talking about things. Let's sit in a group of just other immigrants and talk about our experiences and heal and support each other, and just know that we're not alone. I mean, this country was built off of immigrants. This
100%.
it was built by immigrants. So it's one of those things that we can't keep falling into, like what the stereotypes are. There needs to be a shift, and I think we're only as strong as we are. Like we need to become together. We need to get together and help each other out and become stronger.
Everything you're saying, I'm just like nodding my head. I
And
totally on the same page. And you're actually super far along when it comes to finances. I know you said you're like trying to commit to learning more, but I always tell the people that we work with, and I do the financial coaching, online business coaching, that 99% of both personal finance and business is mindset.
Yeah.
And you're completely affirming that from your experience. So I was going to ask you, what's the number one lesson you wish you had learned, you would share with people? Is that it, to like really work on your healing and mindset?
Yes. That's probably the biggest thing. Yeah, because everything else that I've struggled with along in the business, that just recently came up, I've tied back to my mental programming. It was just that whole like asking people for help. Why am I not comfortable with asking for, people for help? Is because of when I was younger, it was like always, oh, you do that by yourself. Oh, you know how to do this. Do it. Like it was always one of those things. I was programmed to just always do by myself. I would get in trouble sometimes if I asked certain questions. It was just, now that's aside from, the whole immigrant back background of mine. But my dad was like a very strict person. He was very stern. He wanted, and I'm thankful for that now. There's certain things where as a parent you mess up, and but he was very strict with us, and I feel like that kind of made the person that I am today, but it also hindered me from certain things, and asking for help and not being shy about just communicating things with people. That was probably the best. That's one of the main things that I would say is like mental work on your mental health, and just always be open to getting help, asking for help, because we don't know. Nobody knows everything, nobody knows exactly what they're doing. I think that's intimidating when you approach like somebody that has like a huge business. You think that they've had it so easy. You think that they've just known every step of the way what to do. Is like if you actually sat down with some of the biggest like business owners, or just like local, business owners, I'm sure they'll have a hell of a story to tell, and you can learn from that. But if we're not open to sit down, if we're not willing to ask for help or advice, then we're never going to learn, and we're always going to be stuck in like this bubble.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I cannot thank you enough for all of these really incredible and valuable insights you're sharing. Your story is amazing. I could tell we connected on Instagram, and the first message you sent, I was just like, oh my God, she's amazing.
It
I have
was
so much to learn from her.
Oh man, no, and it was so funny because again, because of my the New Year's resolutions that I had is like get financially savvy, learn about everything, connect with people that are on your same what your own interests are. We're stuck on social media for so long. Like social media is a big part of our lives now. I started my business off of social media. So why not, and when social media first started, it was like these celebrities, and you want to know the gossip, and you want to see the latest fashions, and you want to be like these influencers. But it's like, why? Why, if my goals are not that, my goals are to like learn about investing, learn about heal my past, and connect more with the immigrant community. Why not convert your space? You are who you hang around with. So why not like start seeking out individuals who are in this kind of in the same, mindset and the same vibes as what you're trying to, like live out. And your page came up, and I was like, immigrant finance, like that's perfect, because I'm an immigrant. Like I was an immigrant, and I want to learn about finances. So I like logged onto your page, and just everything that you guys do. And I was like, this is amazing. Like you're helping people day in and day out. Where were you? Like where were people like you when we first came into the country? Because I felt like we were not wanted here. Like I felt like there was no help for us. I felt like there was no hope for us. And I wasn't wanted here. That's kind of how we grew up. We didn't really have anybody on our corner or helping us, just it's beautiful, because I feel like, you can change lives, and you can avoid even children of immigrants go through a lot of the obstacles and traumas that we, in the past had to deal with. So I want to thank you. When you asked me about that, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do the podcast because I'm honored. Like I'm all about sharing my story. If it's going to inspire somebody, or if it's going to, help somebody get through the day. If like, oh, okay, she's going through that too. Like I'm all for it. I don't try and portray like I have this perfect life or like I have everything down. No, like I feel like we learn from each other, from our mistakes, and we have to share. We have to share. We can't just always share the perfect, the pretty. It's those hard times, and it's the hard things, the hard conversations that you learn from. If we just all sat and sugarcoated everything, then what would we really be learning, or how would we be growing? So I'm honored, and I'm so thankful, and I'm really happy that I did this actually, because it's just getting me closer, to just going through my resolutions of things that I feel like I need to overcome. And public speaking is huge, 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 huge thing
You're
for
so
me.
good at it.
Oh no. And my husband tells me all the time, he's like, you're going to be amazing. You're going to be great. I don't know why you're so nervous. It's like, because I guess English to me is my second language. I'm really good at, speaking Spanish, but in English, I say some things kind of off, or like phrases, and he laughs. So like it will be a simple phrase, a traditional American phrase. I can't even think of one right off the bat right now, but I'll
There's
completely,
one.
huh?
There's one.
There is one.
Right off the
Right off the bat, yeah. So and I didn't butcher that one, right? But there's other ones that I will like completely destroy, and he will just have the time of his life with it. And he's just like, it's so funny, but like I have to remember that in Spanish, things in Spanish are a little different, and I try and translate it to English. So, but yeah, just public speaking. I want to take a public speaking class, but I want to do it online. And he laughs at me because he's like, what's the point of public speaking if you're going to do it online? Like you have to do it in front of, if you have to do it in front of people.
You're
I was
so
like,
no.
that is my greatest fear. But
I'm surprised you don't have a podcast. You're such a natural. Like, I think it's the same thing with what your business experience has been, is just like keep trying and practicing, and then it will get more natural. That's how my experience has been. I mean, anyone who's listening, if you hear the first episode, you can hear me like about.
I listened to the first episode. I did, and I was like, oh my God,
how nervous I am.
It actually made me feel comfortable, because I was like, wow, I could not, listening to your podcast now and then listening to that first podcast, I was like, man, she was really nervous. Like, and I like that you made it known though, because it makes it okay. Like I'm completely, it's a thing where I start sweating, like my palms get like sweaty, my heart starts racing whenever I have to do public speaking or like these type of things. I've done one other podcast before yours, and it was like, that's all I could think about the entire week. I was like, what am I going to say? And it wasn't until we were done that my husband's like, man, you did a good job. I was flushed from the face. Like I was hot. My face was burning up. It was so funny. He's like, you did really good. I was like, no, I don't think so. And I felt like my voice was all like, cracking, and my palms are sweaty and my face is hot. But he's like, no, maybe you feel like that on the inside. And I think that's what I want to work on. I want to work on getting that feeling out of my system, so where I can fully feel like I'm doing a good job, or like I'm being, natural. But yeah, this has been amazing. It's been so much fun. And I love that, you had me on here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Seriously, just practicing, keep practicing. And thank you so much for the kind words you said earlier. And yeah, I mean, you have so much wisdom to share that, like, how could you not? It would almost be a crime not to share,
Yeah.
There's some people who have to learn from your experience. So, well, thank you so much again. And please share, where can people find you, follow you, learn more about Fab and Fit Foods? Where's the store for folks in Houston?
Definitely. So we have an Instagram. It's Fab N, the letter N, Fab N Fit Foods, on Instagram, and we also have a Facebook. The Facebook is Fab, the little symbol, and Fit Foods. And our storefront is located in Pearland, Texas. It's about, right out of Houston, probably like 10 minutes out of Houston, but we do deliver all over Houston. So, I mean, Houston is a huge city. So there's like little towns. There's like Spring, Texas. There's Woodlands. There's Tomball. There's Pasadena. We have so many, and we cover a large portion of like Houston and Pearland area. So, I mean, if any of the listeners are out here, definitely go, follow us. And if our storefront isn't near you, just know that we definitely probably deliver to your location, as long as like they're within the Houston radius. I think we have a freeway. It's Freeway 99. As long as they're inside Freeway 99, which is the most outer freeway of the city, we will deliver. We will deliver there. So
that's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Stay well.
You too. Thank you, Adina.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Immigrant Finance Show. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already, and leave us a review so we can reach more people to help. Also, did you know we started a free Facebook group for immigrant families who want to build generational wealth? We're doing free monthly trainings covering everything from investing to online business. Plus, you will be in there with a network of other inspiring members of our community. Make sure to join us at facebook.com/groups/immigrantfinance, and we'll see you there.